Romans 3 contains many explicit Tanakh groundings, and the references are so many, I'm not going to list them out right now. Together they form a devastating witness. No one is righteous in himself. No one can boast before Yehovah. The whole human condition is corrupt, apart from divine mercy. Romans 3 moves in a decisive progression. Privilege acknowledged, to objection answered, to universal guilt established, to every mouth silenced, to righteousness revealed, to atonement set forth, to boasting destroyed. All stand guilty before Yehovah, and only his atonement covering can justify. Yehovah, silence every false defense within us. Bring us into the truth about our condition before you. Teach us to cling to your atonement and not to ourselves. Yehovah Mekadesh, Yehovah who makes holy. He is the one who sets apart and cleanses what men cannot purify by himself. Yehovah Mekadesh. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Holy, holy, holy. Please fill me and lead me and cover me and stir me and speak through me with your Ruach HaKodesh, that I may speak your written words with boldness and humility to those who listen. I ask all these things in Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed, the Aleph Natav's name. Amen. We'll start with the Shema. Listen and obey. Children of Yehovah, pay careful attention and respond. Yehovah is our power and authority. Yehovah works in unity, echad, with himself, and you shall act upon your love, ahava, to Yehovah with your power and authority, with your thoughts and mind, with your entire body, and with all the muchness that you have. Yod, He, Vav, He. Hand, behold, now, behold. Romans chapter 3. Then what advantage has a Jew? What is the value of being circumcised? Much, in every way. In the first place, the Jews were entrusted with the very words of God. If some of them are unfaithful, so what? Does their faithlessness cancel God's faithfulness? Heaven forbid. God would be true even if everyone were a liar, as the Tanakh says, so that you, God, may be proved right in your words and win the verdict when you are put on trial. Now, if our unrighteousness highlights God's righteousness, what should we say? That God is unrighteous to inflict his anger on us? I am speaking here the way people commonly do. Heaven forbid. Else, how could God judge the world? But you say, if through my life God's truth is enhanced and brings him greater glory, why am I still judged merely for being a sinner? Indeed, why not say, as some people slander us by claiming we do say, let us do evil so that good may come of it. Against them the judgment is just one. So are we Jews better off? Not entirely. For I have already made the charge that all peoples, Jews and the nations alike, are controlled by sin. As the Tanakh puts it, there is no one righteous, not even one. No one understands, no one seeks Aleph Tav, God. All have turned away and at the same time become useless. There is no one who shows kindness, not a single one. Their throats are open graves. They use their tongues to deceive. Viper's venom is under their lips. Their mouths are full of curses and bitterness. Their feet rush to shed blood. In their ways are ruin and misery. The way of shalom they do not know. There is no fear of God before their eyes. Moreover, we know that whatever the Torah says, it says to those living within the framework of Torah, in order that every mouth may be stopped and the whole world be shown to deserve God's adverse judgment. For in his sight, no one alive will be considered righteous on the ground of legalistic observance of Torah commands. Because what Torah really does is show people how sinful they are. But now, quite apart from Torah, God's way of making people righteous in His sight has been made clear, although the Torah and the prophets give their witness to it as well. And it is a righteousness that comes from God through the faithfulness of Yeshua, the Aleph Natav, the Messiah, to all who continue trusting. For it makes no difference whether one is a Jew or one is from the nations, since all have sinned and come short of earning God's praise. By God's grace, without earning it, all are granted the status of being considered righteous before Him through the act of redeeming us from our enslavement to sin that we accomplished by the Messiah, Yeshua, the Aleph Natav. God put Yeshua, the Aleph Natav, forward as the kapara for sin through His faithfulness in respect to His bloody sacrificial death. This vindicated God's righteousness, because in His forbearance He had passed over, with neither punishment nor remission, the sins people had committed in the past. And it vindicates His righteousness in the present age by showing that He is righteous Himself. And it is also the one who makes people righteous on the ground of Yeshua, the Aleph Natav's faithfulness. So what room is left for boasting? None at all. What kind of Torah excludes it? One that has to do with legalistic observance of rules? No, rather, a Torah that has to do with trusting. Therefore, we hold the view that a person comes to be considered righteous by God on the ground of trusting, which has nothing to do with legalistic observance of Torah commands. Or is God the God of the Jews only? Isn't He also the God of the Gentiles? Yes, He is indeed the God of the Gentiles, the nations, because, as you will admit, God is one, echad. Therefore, He will consider righteous the uncircumcised on the ground of trusting, and the uncircumcised through that same trusting. Doesn't it follow that if we abolish Torah by His trusting, heaven forbid, on the contrary, we confirm Torah? What is the Hebrew word that encapsulates this chapter? Kapara. Kapara means atonement, covering, reconciliation through divinely provided means. Tanakh spine. Psalm 51, verse 6, 14, verses 1 through 3, 53, verses 2 through 4, 5, verse 10, 140, verse 4, 10, verse 7, Isaiah 59, verses 7 and 8, Proverbs 1, verse 16, Psalm 36, verse 2, Psalm 143, verse 2, Deuteronomy 6, verse 4. These references form Shaul's witness that sin is not isolated to a few actions, but has infected the whole person, thoughts, speech, feet, heart, and the fear of God. The Psalms and prophets together testify that no one stands righteous in himself. Human speech is corrupted. Human ways move toward violence, and no flesh can be justified before Yehovah by his own standing. Against that dark backdrop, the revealed righteousness of God shines all the brighter. Chapter flow. Shaul begins by affirming that there is real advantage in being entrusted with the words of God. He answers objections about Jewish unbelief in God's faithfulness. He declares that human unfaithfulness does not cancel the faithfulness of Yehovah. He rejects the twisted argument that evil should be done so good may result. He concludes that both Jews and the nations are all under sin. He strings together Tanakh witnesses to expose total human corruption. He declares that every mouth is stopped and all the world is accountable to God. By works of law, not flesh, no flesh will be justified because Torah brings the knowledge of sin. Now the righteousness of God has been manifested apart from the works of the law, through witnesses by Torah and the prophets. This righteousness comes through the faithfulness of Messiah Yeshua to all who trust. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. People are justified freely by His grace through the redemption in Messiah. God presented Him as the atoning sacrifice. Yehovah is shown to be both just and the justifier of the one who trusts in Yeshua. Boasting is excluded. God is one, echad, and he justifies both circumcised and uncircumcised through faithfulness. Shaul ends by saying faith does not overthrow Torah, but upholds it. Privilege to guilt, to silence, to righteousness, to kapora, to no boasting. Core theme. Romans 3 declares that all humanity stands guilty before Yehovah, and that justification comes only through his revealed righteousness and atoning provision. Shaul closes every escape route of human pride. Then he opens the only true door, the righteousness of God given through kapora. How can we learn to love Yehovah with our heart, soul, mind, and strength? We can love Yehovah by agreeing with him, by agreeing with his verdict about our sin instead of defending ourselves. Love Yehovah by trusting his atoning provision rather than our own righteousness. Love Yehovah by honoring him as the one God who is both just and merciful. How can we learn to love our neighbors as we love ourselves and as Yeshua loves us? Refuse self-righteousness because all stand in need of mercy. Speak truthfully about sin, whether acting superior to others. Point people toward Yehovah's atonement instead of toward religious performance. How can we bear one another's burdens? Remind one another that guilt is real, but mercy is greater. Help one another reject shame-driven hiding and return to Yehovah's provision. Strengthen one another against pride, despair, and false confidence. What are the top 3 fruits of the Spirit found in this chapter? 1. Humility, anava. Every mouth is stopped, and boasting is cut down before Yehovah. 2. Faithfulness, emunah. This chapter calls us to trust wholly in God's righteousness and atoning provision. 3. Reverence, yira. The absence of the fear of God marks corruption, so restored life must begin with holy fear. What is the mitzvah response? Torah-Based? Leviticus 17, verse 11. The life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you on the altar to make atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that makes atonement by reason of the life. Command. We will renounce boasting, honor Yehovah's provision of atonement, and walk humbly before him. Hebrew declaration. Yehovah an beinu, tishadik, atzmenu, rach bi chapora, chapora techa, yash lenu, tikva, lamdenu, amod, ba chesed, ove imunah. Yehovah, there is no righteousness in us from ourselves. Only in your atonement do we have hope. Teach us to stand in mercy and faithfulness. What is the one-sentence summary? All are guilty. Yehovah reveals righteousness through atonement. Now, after having read the chapter and going over it, here are some heart-piercing questions. Where are we still trying to defend our own righteousness? Another, do we truly believe that all have sinned and need mercy equally? Another, how does kapora deepen our understanding of Romans chapter 3? Another, are we resting in Yehovah's provision or in religious effort? Another, what forms of boasting still try to survive in us? Another, how does this chapter uphold Torah while denying self-justification? Lastly, what would it look like for us to live in humble gratitude for atonement? Now we'll end with Aaronic blessing on this Friday night Shabbat using the name. Yehovah will kneel before you presenting gifts, and he will guard you with a hedge of protection. Yehovah will illuminate the wholeness of his being toward you, bringing order, and he'll provide you with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yehovah will lift up the wholeness of his being and look upon you, set in place all you need to be whole and complete. Shalom, shalom, Shabbat, shalom, shalom, shalom.